Hi again, and welcome to the Stimulate Your Relationship show, where nothing is taboo and nothing is off limits for helping you to stimulate your relationship on all levels. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Zev Halpern. A few really cool things on the horizon: couples retreats in Sedona in collaboration with a gifted colleague, Tiffany Toombs, and another unlimited stimulation weekend in Carlsbad, California at the iconic Certainty Theater in 2020 with renowned hypnotist and thought leader Marshall Silver. I feel so fortunate to have the opportunity to be on the cutting edge of couples growth workshops. More info and some video testimonials coming soon. Tonight, we have some really interesting guests, a husband and wife team, Marybeth Hyland and James Hyland, who focus on the alignment of couples' values and will tell us about their Love Lens workshop. The Hylands focus on an important aspect for couples, so look forward to a really interesting discussion. Please take this time to think about ways you can set the stage for some loving and intimacy. So sit back, open your hearts and minds, and yes, consider some ways you can explore to enhance your relationship. Here's tonight's Rev with Zev moment. Saw a cartoon recently. Here, I'll put it up for you. How many of us have something like that we've been sitting on since the inception of our relationship? These are the kinds of unresolved issues that live and take up space in our relationships. They do because for many, it's easier to just leave well enough alone rather than kick up the dust without knowing where all that might go. I get that, and I'm sure many of you do too. The problem is, these kinds of challenges put up negative walls and trickle down throughout our relationships, using up valuable energy and nourishment a relationship needs to thrive. So what to do? It's not advisable and can be really frustrating to try and change a person after we have not disclosed the issue to them, meaning they don't know something they're doing is bothering the hell out of you. One positive avenue is letting your spouse know and discuss ways they might be willing to tweak their behavior to reduce the pressure and obstacles a certain behavior might be having on your relationship. No matter what, it's only fair to let your spouse know, so there's at least a choice to address it for the sake of your relationship or not. A few quick examples: sarcasm, perpetual lateness, poor hygiene, condescending behavior, possessiveness, language, spendthrift versus frugal, negative, pessimistic attitude, and inappropriate behavior. And these are just a few. So something to think about. Life is hard enough as it is, so muster the courage to get it out on the table and confront it. That is a really big start. Could be a huge relief on the climate of your relationship, allowing opportunities for activities that bring you more intimacy and make you happy. Take a look at this, and we'll be right back to introduce you to tonight's guest.
Scrivo quest'ultima canzone solo per ricordarti, partita.
Welcome back. I invite you to log on to my website, stimulateyourrelationship.com, check out my digital courses, and join the list, and Facebook group Stimulate Your Relationship, so you can continue to receive free, helpful advice and ideas to keep it romantic and stimulated. Now, let's meet tonight's guests. Marybeth Hyland is a workplace culture visionary, ordained wedding officiant, and co-creator of the Love Lens Workshop. She is most passionate when she's officiating at weddings, speaking, coaching, or facilitating workshops. Having grown up in a household where her parents' values were drastically out of alignment, the work she does now reflects the wisdom that was gained from her wounds, leading to incredible healing and discovering her authentic self. She and her husband, James, are on a quest to open a retreat center in the mountains of Idaho, guiding more people in the process of disconnecting from technology to reconnect to their humanity. An innovator, holistic lifestyle coach, and co-creator of the Love Lens Workshop, he grew up under traditional social norms, including the jock mindset that males don't talk about their feelings. Through dedication to change, he's realized the importance of living within your values and how they strengthen a partnership. This wasn't him a few years ago, but after doing the work together, he knows they have a better life as a result. He's grateful to share his experience to help others. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming, Marybeth. Thanks, James, for coming out tonight. It's a special night in Rockville, and we got a little history with that. Talk just a little bit about the Love Lens Workshop. It's a great name, really cool. How'd it come about?
So I think for us, we realized that there was more to life than just when you're feeling drained to just Netflix and chill. And for us, what we did was we really wanted to look at our values, these values that drive us, and how could we intentionally activate those values in our day-to-day life to enhance our relationship. And I think what we found is oftentimes you feel drained not because you're doing too much, but you're doing too little that activates those values. So for us, we got really intentional about getting clear on what they were and then creating different habits around them. So we were very intentional with creating different daily habits, weekly habits, monthly, yearly habits around those values, really to be doing those things that really fill us up with joy. And for us, it was such a huge shift in our relationship and just really enlivened our relationship as well. We wanted to share that with other people. So we very much, I believe that you learn yourself first and then you can teach other people. So we just saw such a benefit of doing it ourselves and sharing that with other people, and our friends would be like, well, tell us more about that. And that really just opened up the opportunity to open this up for a workshop for the greater
because
public
people
as well.
don't talk about values. I mean, value, what? You don't
What
hear
is it?
V for values.
Right.
It's just not talked about. So it's like kind of interesting how you came to it. Do you huddle? Did you huddle together? Did you,
Yeah.
you had some, like together discussions,
Absolutely.
tired of the Netflix,
Yeah.
tired of, you got worn out on Netflix. Which,
Well, we were both, and still are, but have it more in check now. We were people who were very driven by typical societal norms of success. So we were just really grinding
Ambitious.
it out, right?
Ambitious.
Yeah, super ambitious in our professional careers. So we were always in high energy mode, a minimum 5 days a week for way more than 40 hours, right? Probably closer to 60 hours at least for both of us.
You were
So
smashing weeks.
we were, and when we came down to our downtime, we were so burnt out that it was like, all right, what's a quality time? Let's get a bottle of wine and watch some series on Netflix. And it was just this moment of, there's gotta be more to this. We are in a loving relationship. We had a great partnership, but we just didn't know how to elevate it in a way that felt organic to who we were individually and who we were as a couple and where those values overlap together.
So what's your view of values? Like, What are they? A lot of people don't think about it.
Yeah. So as human beings, we are all a walking, talking, living, breathing set of values. We don't realize it, right?
We're belief systems.
We are
We're
a belief system. And every single thing that we do, from the way we speak, the way we're showing up tonight, the way you're hosting these conversations, it's all reflection of those internal drivers, the things that motivate you, your belief system. And so few people actually take the time to honor their past, to understand where their values were formed, and then once they can actually acknowledge, all right, here are the words that are what my values are, right? Like creativity, honesty, pleasure, whatever that might be, and then going to a place where they can be then intentional about activating those in their lives versus wherever the wind might blow and take you.
Yeah. I was to say, I think for me, when I never thought about values before until recently when we started doing this work. And for me, it all made sense because it's almost like having a compass and pointing you in the direction that you want to go in life. Because we all have experiences where you might feel like, oh, that wasn't me, or this is so me. And another person can be in that same room and feel the complete opposite. And there's nothing right or wrong about that, but it's just how our values show up. So
how we define it
exactly
to ourselves.
Exactly.
And bring it into the...
And it really came about because of my work in the day-to-day is in companies, and I work in organizational culture. I use the formula values times behavior equals culture. So I started to go really deeply into values. You asked sort of how did this come about? Did we powwow? Did we put our heads together? I go on retreat myself a couple times a year alone, solo retreat, completely off the grid, so disconnected from technology. There is a landline where I am. And when I was in the first round of really...
Are you in a tent?
No, in a cabin.
Yeah?
In a luxury cabin.
Oh, okay.
It's quite beautiful.
Very nice.
It's actually an original Pony Express stop, the cabin.
Sounds really
it's
cool.
beautiful.
Very cool.
And I was doing all of these exercises. I got all these books on values, and I was doing all these exercises on my own, doing some self-exploration, and we would have phone calls at night. So that was like our date every night. And so I said, hey, do you want to do this values work too? And then at night we can just talk about our answers. And so that's where it all started. And we realized really quickly where our values were unique, where they overlapped. And then once we saw where they overlapped, we could be more intentional about activating them in our day-to-day norms togetger.
So do you worry about her when she's in the Pony Express cabin? Do you think about it?
I'm completely confident she's going to be okay. So it is, I mean, to be out there, it's such a beautiful place to reset with yourself. But no, I miss her, but I definitely send her all my love when she's
And it's
out
probably
there.
great for your relationship.
It
Oh,
is
definitely.
I'm sure
so
it's
good.
it's a pause.
It's
Yeah.
so
It's a
good.
pause from whatever, Netflix.
Yeah.
Or
You
whatever it is
appreciate
that-
each other more too when you're away.
Yeah, and we just started working together 3 months ago. So this was the first time, just about a week ago, that she was away, and it was a perfect time for us both to have that space away to really spend some time with ourselves. But also when we got back together, it's always distance makes the heart grow fonder, as we say. But
So we have
it's
lots of
always-
cliches. I mean,
yeah.
that's one of them. But there's also that other cliche. When the mouse, the cat's away. The mouse will
Mice
play.
will play,
And,
yes. yeah.
that's something that people, they pause in their relationships, but they're tired of
Right.
each other. They don't have, the focus that you guys have a certain focus. You've zeroed in on something. Clearly, you're living it, you're walking it. They don't have that. They're, she went away, on a business trip. He went away on a business trip. That's the thing. So what am I going to do? I'm going to lay up on the couch, or I'm going to, do whatever. This
Yeah.
is very intentional.
Right.
This is some very intentional stuff that
Yes.
Yeah.
you're talking about. And not every couple, intentional, it's more random. It's kind of life is just bleeding into, days, bleed into weeks and months. This is way more focused.
Yes.
That's a great word too, intention, right? Intentionality. I think that is actually at the core of the work that we're talking about. You're not going to be able to just start living in alignment with your values if you're not intentional about wanting that and then actually taking steps to do it.
All right, so look, we'll be right back with Sexpectations. See you in a little bit. So we're bleeding a bit into the next segment, but I really wanted to ask you about the Idaho retreat. Just tell me a little bit about that. How that? I mean, there's land, so when there's land, there's possibilities. How'd you come to that? I mean, how'd you get to that?
I think for us, Marybeth had been going out to the land since she was a little girl. I mean, potty trained out there. I mean, from
What's
from
it
that
like?
young.
Wide open
It's
spaces.
100 acres of
acres.
land out in the middle of nowhere. It backs
Wow.
up into the largest national forest in the lower 48 states is protected. So it's
The Lewis and Clark Trail runs behind it.
you're out there your driveway is 4 miles up a dirt road. You're on top of the hill. There's really nobody around.
This is in America. A lot of people, don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I did not know this until, I guess, about 7 or 8 years ago, the first time that I went out. And I had no idea what it was going to be like. We were both like, I didn't know if I was going to like it or
Idaho?
not.
What?
It's like, wait, why would you ever go out here? Why would I ever, I'm not going to be able to use my cell phone and all those kind of things. But I just fell in love with it. And then I think, after going out there, it's like when you're out there, you just realize you have this inner peace, this inner calm that you come out there from being able to disconnect from all the technology out there. It really gives you a chance to really reconnect with yourself. And again, like through a lot of the medicine and I'd say a lot of the things that we've learned that we share with people. I mean, this is something that we want to share with more people too, because our dream is to create this space where people can, like I said, reconnect with their humanity through mind, body, and spirit. And this is all moving towards.
And it's a place where you can do that.
Oh yes.
Where usually it's like, is there cable here?
Yeah.
Right.
Where's the
right.
cable connection? I'm
Right.
gonna, drive myself crazy,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll end up, killing each other,
Yeah.
instead of loving each other.
And
it does work that way.
One of our shared core values is unity with nature. And so when James said the medicine, right, there's medicine in nature. There's medicine in the mountains. There's medicine in being disconnected. There's medicine in just being present in that space.
I think they grow some medicine out there too. They grow some of that medicine, I think, out there in Idaho, probably that we don't know about too. But
Perhaps.
perhaps they do.
Perhaps.
Perhaps they do. So let's say, since we're in the Sexpectations segment, how do you use values to help a couple who's having difficulties, centering, focusing, getting it right?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
One of the pieces of the workshop, in addition to each individual getting a profile of their unique values, they also get a profile where their values overlap and where they're different. And a part of what we ask them to do with those is also think about their love languages, which I'm sure you're very
Absolutely.
familiar with.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And so, for example, James's love language is physical touch. So
Good one, James.
granted,
Very good.
physical touch doesn't have to be sexual per se. It can
That's
be
right,
this.
yes.
It can be me just giving him
Affectionate,
love in this
affection.
way. But for folks that physical touch is something that's driving them, if you're not being intentional about how you're connecting sexually, you are missing out in bigger ways than you maybe even realize because of what a big deal it is for that other individual.
I mean, I can see the guy or her saying, yeah, I like values, I value sex.
Pleasure is a
I
value, and people
and we don't have any.
Yeah, and it's how you interpret it, right? So what pleasure means to me could mean very different to what pleasure means to him, and so being able to have those conversations, it opens up a new possibility of how you can connect more deeply. I don't
So
know.
the difference between the two of you, he values physical touch, affection, hug a little longer,
What is our value promise around physical touch?
It's a connection. So it's tied around at least once a week being intimate with each other. So what we do with the help couples is create these promises. So it's actionable habits they can start building into their daily lives.
Great.
So for us, it's not, I mean, some people might look
Can you
for
say
a
that
schedule.
again? Say that again. It's very
So
good stuff.
for our value promises, what we do is we help them create actionable habits that they can activate their values.
So
throughout their
action
daily
steps,
lives.
they have, there's a direction.
Yeah.
And
And it's based on a promise to one another, right? So the value of connection is where we have put intimacy, right? So our 3 shared core values, the 3 big ones are connection, reflection, and growth. Those are the headers of all the promises that we've made to each other. And so one of those promises sounds something like, we promise to be intimate with one another at least once a week, and we promise to activate the love language of physical touch. It's like a little thing that completely changes
But
your entire
promises,
experience.
Also
Yeah.
promises, people make promises. People break promises.
Exactly.
You know,
They
how's
do.
that work? You know, a lot of the trouble is broken promises.
Yeah.
You know, things that people say to each other, I'm going to, you know, we're going to get to that, and then they don't.
So for us, I think it's really important when you make these promises that you are intentional about it, and these are the ones that you truly want to do, activate on a regular basis. So we created actually a poster for us so we can see as much as we want. We tell people to put it on your fridge, put it in your bathroom, put it in all these places so you
Like
can see
vision
it.
boards
A
that
vision
people
board.
have in their bedrooms.
Exactly.
I mean, I've heard, you know, lots of people.
Exactly, but it's when you create these promises, it's a working document too. You might realize some of these, okay, we don't really want to activate these, some of them we don't, but what are those ones that really are truly meaningful to us? And the more you can activate those, like I said, the more you'll find you're in alignment with yourself, but also your partner, and bring you closer together.
So
with
some
that.
of them fall off because
Yeah.
they don't work, or they don't make sense, or somebody has to clarify something,
Yeah.
you know, in the.
You got to take your humanity into it too, right? And we always say this at the workshop. This is not a finished, set in stone commandments, right? This is promises that you want to commit to each other, but they might not be realistic after you go through a couple of months. So you need to be looking at it and reevaluating and say, okay, so maybe that wasn't realistic. What can we do that's going to be more realistic and set us up for success versus judging each other for feeling like we failed?
Right, and it leaves room for experimentation. right?
Exactly.
I mean, it leaves lots of room for
Exactly.
experimentation, and actually kind of a call for
Yeah.
experimentation, as opposed to, you know, just people doing the, you know, again, day to day. It kind of opens up this
Yeah.
opportunity for a whole set of new things.
Yeah.
So what happens when somebody brings something new and they don't like it? You know, like I want this. Oh, I mean, is it a discussion? You know, is it a huddle? Is it how's it play out with the people you work with?
Yeah.
How's it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the promises that you make is always a working document, because for a lot of these couples, this is the first time that they've actually taken that intentional time to sit down to say, you know, what are my values and how can I activate them? How can we make these promises? So for a lot of them, until they actually start doing them, they realize, and even for us, we realized we had a bunch of stuff on our list. Like one of them was we wanted to like learn a new subject each month, and it was like, okay, we're not doing that.
Because it felt like work.
It felt like work. You don't want these
You
to
wanted
feel
to
like
feel
work.
like joy.
Yeah, yeah. So it's always a working document to work through these. But I think
It's
too,
not it's not like, this is it.
yes,
Right.
It's
correct.
It's flexible.
It has to be playful too, right? It can't be
Thank you.
so serious that it feels like a prescription or like I'm going to get in trouble if I don't do this. You have to do it from a
Or-
lens of love.
Yeah, like, you know, the date nights that people go on that are not fun.
Right.
Like there are you know, people have novel date nights, and there's some people who just, we have to have our date night. Well, I'm not liking it very much anymore. You know, it's like, I don't
Yeah.
want to do it. Maybe
Yeah.
I'd rather, you know, walk off a cliff. You know,
Yes.
I mean,
And-
I've heard
Yes.
it. I've heard it.
We specifically say that if it feels like a chore or it feels like something that you have to check off a list, don't put it on, because that's not the point.
Well, look, you guys have been great tonight, and the ideas and the whole focus on values is it's amazing.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And a good prescription for people, you know, to follow. And I think people need that. They need guidance and they need structure. And thanks so much for coming out, James and Marybeth, and all the best with the retreat center in Idaho. I can only imagine how beautiful that is.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Zev.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
To find out more about Marybeth Hyland and James Hyland, check this out. To find out more about my consulting and coaching practice has allowed me the unique privilege and opportunity to work with a wide array of couples, both face-to-face in Maryland and virtually all over the world through my online relationship stimulation consulting practice. I invite you to find out more about how I can help you stimulate your relationship through my Stimulate Your Relationship coaching programs, events, and retreats. Get in touch with me and let me help you transform your relationship into the next level of your intimacy. Please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And join my group, Stimulate Your Relationship, on Facebook. We'll leave you tonight with some ways you can stimulate your relationship. Add the secret sauces of anticipation and novelty to your date nights, and you both will look forward eagerly to this exciting and special time together. Lovingly discuss your early intimate moments as they're a treasure trove and stimulating reminder of how and why you began your intimate journey together in the first place. Reduce or eliminate yelling and anger as they push your partner away. Rather, increase soothing words and behavior as they draw us to understanding and intimacy. And finally, try asking yourself, what's right with our relationship, instead of focusing always on what's wrong. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I'm Zev Halpern. See you next time for a new episode of Stimulate Your Relationship.